Committee meeting to order. First on the agenda is, well, welcome everybody. Yeah, thank you guys. I know a lot of work went in to prepare this. So we'll first go over the budget. Chris or Kristen, do you review? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm just going to remain seated if that's okay with everyone, since we're so small today. Just a refresher, state law requires me to submit our division's budget to the post-audit committee for approval, and the executive committee reviews and approves the budget first, and then it will go to the full committee in a little bit when that committee meets. After that, just for your edification, our budget goes to the LCC for approval, and then it goes to the budget committees during the session. So on the back page of the memo is a table summarizing our budget revision and request for 25 and 26. Just some key points. Our revised 2025 budget is within our appropriation and allows us to fully staff our agency. And our requested 2026 budget is almost identical to our 2025 budget, and again, allows us to fully staff our agency. The numbers are on the back side of the page. Did anyone have any questions in particular? I've also attached our performance measures, if anyone had any questions about those.
I think I read it somewhere about. Yeah, what was the decrease in contractual services? It was contracted audits, is that right?
Yeah, we set aside a rather large amount for possible contracting out for services for either economic development evaluations or other audits. And just historically, we haven't even ever come close to using that amount. So I'm starting to stagger that out of the budget. So that's why it's decreasing in future years.
Chris, would you also go over the lapse amount?
Sure.
Thank you.
Get my little cheat sheet so I get it right. So lapse is the difference between your appropriations and reappropriations and your request. So any amount we don't spend is automatically reappropriated the next year, but then that goes to the total resources, and that amount minus our budgeted expenditures, the difference there is the lapse. It goes back to the general fund.
Any other questions? So I do on this lapse amount, I'm thinking that I really like the way you guys do this, and I wish we would do that with other departments and agencies. And I know they're starting to look at the budget process, but this might help control that spend it or lose it attitude. You know, how current agencies and departments operate. If they don't spend it, they feel like they're going to lose it. But you guys are showing it going back. You're being rewarded for it. You're not being penalized. If you didn't use it, it may still be accessible the next year. So maybe this is something we could look at or recommend to the full budget committee. What do you guys think? Comments?
No,
You sure?
Do you sit on Ways and Means?
No, I do not.
A lot of it does happen on a lot of the agencies.
Okay.
Something to that
You see money
effect.
coming back?
Yeah. It's not spent. Yeah.
So I was on Ways and Means for 2 years, and I never saw this. And there's another report that prior legislators tell me that we need to be looking at, that we're not looking at. And I guarantee I was the only one doing this when I was on Ways and Means. We look at what was budgeted. We're not looking at actual expenditures. We're not comparing the expenditures. And when I was on, I caught several times that they would be spending over and above. Well, the language that we put in there, we really don't limit those budgets. So I think we need a hard look at our budget process. But you think this value is in there for some agencies and departments?
Yeah, I was a budget chair for a number of years, and we would see that happen. Not all agencies, without a doubt, but a substantial number of them do that.
Okay.
And I took note, this is how we presented this last year, and you said you liked it. So, I mean, that's just going forward. There's no secret. So if this works for other agencies too, or other formats,
It just shows your attempt to stay within the budget and efficiencies. So, okay, well, great. We may push this forward. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the budget. All those in favor? All those opposed? Nay? Motion carries. Okay, next up is,
Myself as well. I'm going to just refresh you that each year, the full committee does my evaluation. How that normally operates is we have Tom Day send out a survey to you guys, and then you respond to Tom Day. He compiles the results, and then the results are presented to me in an executive session at the December meeting. So it's up to you guys. Do you want to stick with that method, or do you have some other approach for my annual evaluation?
Representative Probst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the current process seems to be working well.
Yes, I would agree. I think we'll just continue as is. Thank you for asking.
I don't think so. I think the full committee actually does this. Yeah. Oh.
I'll second it. Or wait, we can be bipartisan. You can second it. Yeah.
Okay, for clarification, Senator Tyson made the motion on the budget. Representative Probst seconded. Motion carried unanimously. Yep. I think that's it.
There's one more thing.
Oh, review the upcoming audits. Yes, I did ask that we take a look at those, potentially
You should
prioritizing.
have this sheet. It's the last in your little paperclip packet. It's just a listing of the audits. At the top are the ones that we've already started, they're underway in progress of various states. That's Osawatomie Hospital staff safety, adult virtual school credits, the hemp requirements in Kansas, the last two economic development evaluations under the old process, which are the alternative fuel and community service credits, the Ford County primary from 2024 limited scope, and the Ford County general from 2022. And then the list that was approved, but we haven't kicked off yet, in no particular order, Caregiver Act, Commerce Database, although that one is actually technically sort of starting today, Water Certification Limited Scope, the Veterans VCAP Program, Transient Guest Tax, Abuse and Neglect Registries, Free Lunch Student Counts, the KDOT Cost Share Limited Scope, and the follow-up audit. That's a generalized proposal that we put forth in front of you guys to follow up on prior audit recommendations. This particular year, do you have it pulled up in front of you? You guys approved it, and it's following up on so those three prior audits, we then do follow-up work on to see if the recommendations have been implemented.
Okay. So, and then we are going to add to this list today, potentially, 3 limited scope audits. So I understand that the Commerce Database, since you're starting it today, that's wonderful. I think these are very timely audits. Do you guys have a priority on any of these audits? Like, we could move some of these down to the bottom of the queue, or make sure that they get the attention that they need because of what's going on recently. Any thoughts? Representative Host.
I think one thing that there's some ongoing conversation about where we are with the Caregiver Act, and I think that one could be moved down.
Okay. And Chris, you might be more familiar with some of these. Do you think, I don't know if we should put a weighting on some of them or how timely? Could you give us an idea of what your queue looks like on these?
As far as when they're slotted in, I mean, all of these are slotted in ideally to be finished or at least underway by April, because you approve them for a year and it fills us up for the year. As far as absolute next, it really depends on what staff I have available, the expertise needed, that sort of thing. Those are the things we factor into how we slot these in, unless we hear from you all that you absolutely need this one first, type thing.
Okay, and I hate to interrupt anything that's in progress, but we do know that those limited scopes that we're going to look at today will they become a priority, or how will they be treated?
That's committee direction.
Okay, I think we'll wait till the committee of the whole. Is that okay with you guys? Okay, great. And then we'll go from there. So we'll discuss this again then. Any other input on the list, or we'll just wait? Okay.
Did you have any input? Did I say anything incorrectly?
So the only maybe additional consideration that I would add, other than our staffing, kind of internal staffing considerations, is, so some of these on this list are staff topics that we raised for you all to consider. Typically, we would put the legislative requests first. So if it's a legislator who requested the audit, we typically try to put that further up in the queue than a staff topic.
That sounds good. Are you planning on handing out the entire list to the committee? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be great. That way they'll have something to talk from. Perfect. Yes.
So we mentioned that you give preference kind of internally to ones requested by legislators versus ones that were requested by you as staff. Which ones of these were requested by you as staff? Can you refresh my memory?
Okay, so staff topics would include the abuse and neglect registries, the free lunch student counts, and the follow-up audit.
Great. Is there any other business? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn and then reconvene with the entire committee at 1.